Hi and welcome to Podpadstudios. I'm here with our tank and our tank transporter back from filming. So it's been really cool. It was really exciting basically getting these out on set and filming and doing all that kind of stuff. But they're now back in the workshop and I can play because now I suppose the next step for them is they're going to go out and they'll do a few events and people can actually see them working and running and stuff like that. In fact, our first event for this will be the REME Museum event in Swindon, which is at the end of August. It's a big kind of sci-fi day that they do there. It's really, really good. And we'll take these along because I think they'll fit in really nicely because it's kind of military engineering and all that sort of stuff. And they'll really look the part. And obviously because they've got their kind of sci-fi heritage now because they've been, you know, in the film. And yeah, anyway, so that's that. What have we done? So obviously I've added, since they've sort of come back, I've added a few little bits that I wanted to add, you know, into the design and play around with. So the Maplink software I've got up and running now and working, which means it's the tracking software, which means we can run it as an autonomous vehicle. Now it isn't very fast because it was never designed to be very fast, but it's quite cool because it's slow and heavy. We can send it off on these waypoints. It's exactly the same software that we were using on Tiffany. And the idea is that what I'm going to do here is I'm just taking the back section of this off to show you how it works, because it is really, really simple. It's linked in with the drive systems on it. So basically what we've got on a tank is you've got two motors, and the motors basically, you know, move independently, and then we can spin the tank round. We can do what you call tank turns. So for those of you that don't know how it works, there's no steering on the front. It's just two big motors. Now on the back of this, let me just unplug the main plug. You can see on the back panel here, we've got the Arducopter. It's a bit like a Pixade controller. And obviously on the outside, it's all kind of camoed up. We've got the GPS sensor and obviously the telemetry link back to the laptop. So we've got full control remotely. You don't have to program kind of on board and then send it off and then run after it sort of thing. Also, I've added in onboard. So we already had the camera system on board. I built that into it anyway. So we've got a 5.8 gigahertz camera and GPS transmission system on this one. So again, we can see from the tank's point of view. So that's quite good. I'll do some YouTube shots on that so you can kind of see. Now the Ordinance has changed. Now the Ordinance has changed simply because, if you remember when I first built this, I talked about that we were going to put rounds in it for blank firing rounds and that kind of stuff. And in a lot of films, you simply don't need that. You can just do it all in post-production. Sound, you know, lighting, smoke, all of those things. But these are things that I just wanted to add into it because I knew that it was going to go out and I wanted to show it off to people, and also I wanted to do it because I wanted to do it. Now the Ordinance that we obviously were using live when we were filming and doing things like that was the 12 gauge shotgun blanks, because they produce a significant flash and it looks really, really good when you film it. And also the 308 rounds blanks, which again, it's probably hard to see on the camera, but there's these little things. They're like little mini bullets. Now, they're blanks. Obviously, whenever you're working with any of these things, you should be really, really careful because they make a loud noise, but they do produce a flash and they do produce sparks. What I've done is I've changed the systems on this one now. I've gone to the 209 primers. So originally I designed it for 209 primers, but it didn't have the same effect. But if we're going to use this inside at events and I want to demo the guns firing, a 209 primer is loud enough. The other thing you've got to bear in mind as well, in enclosed environments, if you're using different rounds like 308s or the 12 gauge, there are sparks generated from that. And that can ignite all sorts of weird things like gases and whatever. I mean, there's some famous YouTube videos of people running car batteries on things like this and then using blank rounds. And then, of course, because it's in a confined space, the gas that's given off by the battery inside is ignited and blown the object apart. So, yeah, so the 209's more than loud enough. And I've changed the firing system on here slightly. So again, it's really difficult to see on the video, but we've got porting on the gun now. So effectively what this means is it's drawing in more air So when it fires in the breech, when the primer round is put into the breech and it's fired, obviously we've got a gas extraction system, an active fan that pushes the smoke out of the barrel. But with this new system, it's more significant, the smoke coming out of the barrel. So that's really, really good. You can see all the things were added, and I'm going to leave them on because I actually quite like them. I wasn't too sure about them when I first put them on, but obviously it needed it as part of what we were doing for filming and stuff like that. But the bulldozer blades on the front, and they're all angleable, so we can, you know, they can be moved in however you want, and the logs and everything. I'm going to leave all that because I like all that. And it's absolutely filthy now, which is brilliant because it all kind of looks the part. So yeah, so that's the tank. It weighs quite a bit now. Obviously with the extra things that have been put on, it's just topping 100 kilos now, which is quite heavy. Originally, the suspension that I put on it, if you remember back right to the very, very beginning, I played around with the torsion bar idea. Torsion bar is not, it hasn't really worked very well on this at all. So the movement in the wheels is, it's very, very stiff, and it really doesn't flex and move in the way that I really wanted it to. So as I mentioned before, I'm probably going to do another one, and I've got some ideas to do something a lot bigger. So maybe quarter scale, something based around something like either the Abrams or the Leopard tank. And I've got some ideas for what we're going to do with the top end, but the bottom end, I want to really go to town on the suspension and see if I can actually produce some sort of active suspension system on it, which could be really, really cool. I like the idea of it being able to go along at sort of 20 mile an hour and the guns stay exactly still, and I think I've worked out a way of doing that. So that's kind of where we are with this. Obviously the truck behind me there hasn't really changed much at all, because that was pretty much done. As I mentioned in the previous video, the rear wheel steering I've managed to sort out and get, it's really, really good now, and it's working really, really well. But yeah, apart from that, the fifth wheel system on the truck I changed. Again, I think I mentioned that in a previous video. We've gone to a proper pin system now, and it works much better. So there we are. So if you want to come out and see these things working and driving around and having a bit of fun, then it will be the REME Museum in, I can't remember the date off the exact top of my head. It's the end of August, last week of August, here in Wootton Bassett in Swindon. And it's a big Comic Con, and it's a great event. So yeah, I need to start adding a few more things to this now.